The coffee cup trembled in my father's hand before it ever reached his lips. He wasn't looking at me, just at the envelope lying between us on the kitchen table. Thick paper. Handwritten address. No return name. The sunlight coming through. The blinds cut across it like a warning. I was 28, weeks away from graduating after years of juggling night classes and 2 jobs. We were supposed to be planning my celebration dinner. Instead, he'd been silent since the mail arrived. He slid the envelope toward me, but didn't let go. "It's from your sister," he said finally, his voice as dry as the air. I hadn't spoken to Emily in months. Not since she'd shown up last Thanksgiving and whispered in Dad's ear about how I was bleeding him dry with my tuition bills. I opened the letter slowly. Inside was an invitation, her handwriting looping over embossed paper. A family celebration on the same day as my graduation. The note at the bottom twisted in my stomach. "Dad, I know you'll be there. We have important things to discuss." He still hadn't met my eyes. "She called me this morning," he said, folding his hands like he was bracing himself. "She thinks maybe I should go." The air thickened, the hum of the refrigerator suddenly too loud. "Instead of walking me across that stage?" My voice cracked before I could stop it. He exhaled, a long, heavy sound, as if he'd been carrying this weight for days. "It's complicated, Claire. She said she needs me." There was no anger in his tone, just that quiet, dangerous kind of guilt that made people forget their promises. I looked at the man who had once fought for every one of my chances, and for the first time, I felt the ground shift under us. In the distance, a church bell rang. He didn't move. Neither did I. But something between us had already begun to break. Emily's voice leaked through the phone, even though Dad had it pressed tight to his ear. "I caught fragments, fair share, before it's too late, you know what Mom would have wanted." He sat at the dining table, his shoulders hunched like he was shrinking under the weight of her words. When he finally hung up, he stared at his coffee until it went cold. "She says she needs help covering her mortgage," he murmured, not quite looking at me. "And she wants part of the inheritance now." I swallowed hard. "The inheritance? Dad, you're still here. That's your retirement. Your safety." He rubbed his forehead. "She says if I don't help, I might not see the kids anymore." There it was, the hook she'd always used. My father adored those grandkids, and Emily knew it. She also knew how to twist love until it looked like obligation. "Dad, this isn't about money. It's about control," I said. My voice was firmer than I felt. "If you give in now, she'll just come back for more." He flinched. Just slightly, as if the truth was something sharp. "She's still my daughter." "And I'm not?" I asked before I could stop myself. The question hung in the air like smoke. He didn't answer. That night, I heard my parents' low voices behind their bedroom door. Mom's tone was clipped, measured. "We can't drain our savings, Paul. We're not 25 anymore." A pause. Then his quieter reply, "I just don't want to lose her completely." When the house went still, I sat in the dark living room, the glow from the street lamp spilling across the floor. My father was a man pulled in 2 directions, one bound by guilt, the other by fear. And somewhere in the middle, my graduation day was becoming collateral damage. 2 mornings later, a small, flat package arrived, no return address, postmarked from a city an hour away. Mom brought it in with the rest of the mail, her brow furrowed. "It's for you," she said, handing it to Dad. The cardboard felt oddly rigid, the edges sealed with clear tape. He sliced it open at the counter while I poured coffee, but the moment the flap lifted, his hand froze. Inside was a photocopy of a legal document, our family's property deed. My father's name was there, but beneath it, a faint, uneven signature line with Emily's name written as co-owner. The handwriting wasn't his. I stepped closer, my pulse quickening. "Is that?" "It's a copy of something she sent her lawyer," he said, voice low, as if afraid the walls might hear. There was no note, just a yellow sticky tab on the corner. "Easier if we agree now." Mom took the paper, scanning it with sharp, deliberate eyes. "Paul, this is a threat." He didn't respond, just sank into the nearest chair. For a long moment, the only sound was the faint tick of the kitchen clock. By noon, Dad had made 2 phone calls, one to Emily, which went unanswered, and one to Mr. Harper, the family lawyer. Harper promised to review it, but even over the phone, I could hear the weight in his sigh. If she's trying to establish claim before, well, it's not good. That evening, as we cleared dinner plates, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You're not the only one with a future to think about." I didn't show it to Dad. I didn't need to. The look in his eyes when he finally met mine told me he already knew. Emily had crossed a line, and there was no going back. The house was quiet that night, the kind of quiet that makes you hear the smallest things, the creak of wood as it Settles, the whisper of wind against the siding. I found Dad in the garage, sitting on an old workbench stool, a single lamp throwing light across the dust in the AI in his hands was a small, wooden jewelry box. I'd seen it before, my grandmother's. Inside were folded papers, a gold locket, and a photo of Emily and me as kids, sitting side by side on a picnic blanket. Emily's smile was wide, her arm looped tightly through mine. I built her first bike in this garage, he said softly, not looking up. Painted it purple because she said it was the color of magic. I leaned against the doorway. You gave her everything she asked for. His thumb traced the edge of the photo. And still, here we are. For a long time, we didn't speak. The air between us felt heavy, but not from anger, more like grief for something neither of us could repair. I used to think, he began, that a parent's job was to keep giving, no matter how much it cost. But I'm starting to wonder if I've been teaching her the wrong thing. I stepped closer, resting a hand on his shoulder. His skin felt warm, but his frame seemed smaller somehow. You've been teaching her love, I said. She's the one who changed the lesson. His eyes lifted to mine, glassy in the lamplight. Claire, I can't keep saving her if it means losing you. The words landed between us like the sound of a final lock turning. And in that stillness, I saw something shift in him, less fear, more resolve. Whatever came next, he was done letting guilt decide. 2 days later, the papers were ready. Mr. Harper came by in person, his leather briefcase clicking shut as he set the documents on the kitchen table. The morning light caught the neat black print, an updated will, a trust, and a transfer of property rights into a protective clause Emily couldn't touch. Dad signed each page slowly, his hand steady. Mom stood beside him, one hand on his shoulder. Silent but unwavering. When the last signature dried, Harper gathered the stack, nodding once. She can try, but she won't win now. There was no celebration, no toast, just the quiet relief of a door finally closing. That evening, Dad made dinner. Nothing fancy, just roast chicken and potatoes, but he plated it carefully, as if the act itself was a small declaration of normalcy. We ate without mentioning Emily's name. For the first time in weeks, the silence wasn't hostile. It was peaceful. Afterward, we sat on the back porch. The sky had gone soft with dusk, crickets starting their chorus. Dad cradled his coffee mug, staring out at the yard he'd spent decades tending. She'll call, he said eventually. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe not for years. But she will. I nodded. And when she does? He took a slow sip before answering. I'll listen. But I won't give her what she's asking for. Not anymore. A breeze moved through the trees, carrying the faint scent of cut grass. He looked at me then, his expression calm, almost light. I used to think love meant giving everything, he said. Now I know it also means knowing when to stop. The porch light flickered on above us, bathing the steps in gold. We stayed there until the coffee cooled, saying nothing more. Some endings don't need words, they just need to hold.